Welcome back to Righteous Rock TV. I'm your host, TJ Servant. I'm here with
Scott Waters from Ultimatum.
Right on, Scott. Thanks again for coming out. What brought you out here to Las Vegas?
Just out visiting some family, and of course the LA Kings are playing this weekend, and so got to come support my team. Go Kings!
Hockey fan?
Big hockey fan.
Really? How long have you?
I've been a Kings fan for going on 10, 12 years now. I've been a hockey fan since I was a kid. I'm also a huge fan of the Flyers, Philadelphia Flyers. So I grew up in the East Coast, so I watch both religiously. Yeah, I'm really into both of the teams. Unfortunately, my wife is a Penguins fan, but
It happens that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When did you start Ultimatum?
Ultimatum started in 1992, and it was actually started by Robert Gutierrez, who is our guitar player, and he basically started the band out of a band he had once before that, and that band kind of just fell apart, and him and a guitar player named Steve Trujillo, who was our original second guitar player, the two of them formed Ultimatum, and they did one or two gigs with Robert singing before I joined the band. And then I did my first show with them at something called Sunshine '93, and been with them ever since. Robert and I have been a team ever since in that band.
And you just recently had to release a box set?
Yeah, we did a 20-year box set. It was actually October 2012, so it's almost a year now, and that box that's been out. It was just, something that Rock's Records came up with, a way of celebrating 20 years of what Ultimatum has been doing, which is heavy metal with a Christian message.
Very cool, very cool. And I know you came out here today to Las Vegas to visit family, and I think it would be a cool story to share about how we just started talking recently, and then wanted to exchange some CDs and do this video interview, and then happens.
Yeah, we just I was on the Righteous Rock website, buy Righteous Rock stuff, support the band, and I was on there looking to buy a couple CDs for a buddy of mine, and we just got to talking, and then he said, "Oh, okay, I'll ship them out to you." I said, "Okay." Well, we decided to make a trade, and so I was going to send him some CDs, and he sent me his address. I'm like, "Oh, Las Vegas or Nevada? That's where I'm going to be this weekend." So it just worked out perfectly.
For sure, very God appointed date for sure. It was just amazing how the Lord works. This was the first time I had talked to him on Facebook, Righteous Rock Show Nation, and we had started talking about CDs, and he goes, I really like a couple of CDs in your store. I want to get them, you want to trade. And I was like, oh yeah, I really dig that band that you have, Crossforce. It's a great album. If you can find it, pick it up. I'll have some on the website at righteousrocktv.com. So he said, yeah, let's trade. And then he said, okay, what's your address? And so I sent him my address, and he goes, Nevada. Well, I'm going to be in Las Vegas this weekend. I go, well, I live an hour away, man. If you can spare some time with the family, maybe we could meet up. And sure enough, he was like, Saturday's great for me. I go, it's perfect for me. So we came out, and again, thank you, Guitar Center here on Las Vegas Boulevard, for letting us use this room. I did an interview with Joe Rojas from Lionheart here, and the people are great. Management, thank you again at Guitar Center for letting us use the space. It's just a cool room, Yeah. We're sitting here, and there's $6,000 guitars, Gibsons, and cabs, and everything. I mean, it's a pretty nice choice of guitars in this room. But and we had an opportunity to sit down and break bread at one of the famous breakfast establishments here in town. I don't know if I'm legally allowed to say their name, but we had talked for a while, and Scott really shared his heart with me, and then I shared mine with him, and it's awesome to meet somebody that gets it, and he understands me, and he knows at times I'm a little bit loony, when it comes to being super passionate about Christian rock and metal, and I get it, Scott's. And I wanted Scott to share a little bit about, we were talking about health issues because, as you all know, I was in the hospital last month with acute renal kidney failure, and most people that have that have to be on dialysis, and praise the Lord, I don't have to have any dialysis. So again, giving all glory and honor to the Lord for that healing. Scott was sharing with me that you do a similar, you have a ministry.
Yeah, we had a ministry at our church. My wife and I attended Grace Outreach Center in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, and we were doing a ministry there, which was basically, I don't want to call it a weight loss ministry because that really wasn't it. It was about being a well-rounded Christian, and Christians spend a lot of time, in the Word, getting their and building up their spirits, but they also spend a lot of time with food, fun, and fellowship. Those are the three F's that I always talk about, and there's nothing wrong with those things. We need to have fellowship, we need to have fun, and we obviously need to have food to live. However, when food becomes something that you're living for, food becomes unhealthy for you, then you are destroying the temple of God, and your body is the temple of God. The Bible is very clear about that. This is where the Spirit lives as the earnest of our salvation inside of us. So if you are destroying that body, it's just like walking into your church. I was saying, you walk into the church and you start kicking over the chairs and knocking the PA system over, and what are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm allowed. No, you're not allowed. This is where God abides. Well, God abides in us, not behind walls. He abides in your body. So if you're abusing that body, you're abusing the temple of God, and you are not being a well-rounded Christian.
Yeah, so when he shared that with me, I was blown away because it was such confirmation that the Lord showed me that I've been a good steward of what he's provided for me as far as Righteous Rock Nation and Righteous Rock TV show, but I wasn't being a good steward of this body that he had given me with what I was consuming. I was eating, cheeseburgers every day, fried stuff, heavy Mountain Dew drinker. I mean heavy, like, I felt like you had to do quite a few dews a day. And my doctor told me, he goes, you have a liver, a fatty liver of a 60 or 80-year-old. He goes, if you keep this up, keep your diet up the way it is right now, he goes, you won't live to see 60. And I'm 43. And Scott here's 46. I mean, you look at this guy, I mean, it's like he's in great shape, man, for a 46-year-old. And so I think it's a testimony that, God needs us around to be his hands and his feet. And if we're unable physically to get up and get out, it's hard for God to use us if we're physically unable.
Sure. Question one, you want to be there for your children, and you've got kids, I've got kids.
Yeah.
I remember I was running around, chasing my kids around a playground, and we were just, having fun, and I was just gasping for breath. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And then I was only in my, young 30s, and I'm like, gasping for breath at 30. Yeah, my wife and I decided, we're going to start working out. So we started going to the gym, and she now works out moderately, and me, I've got one of those personalities where when I start something, I just tend to do it and overdo it.
Oh, that's type A. That's me all the way, brother. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm at the gym 6 days a week now, sometimes twice a day, and my kids are all grown up now, so I have a little more time. So yeah, I spend quite a bit of time over there.
Yeah, and that is great segue into the next question about I'd like for you to share about how you and your wife met and the fact that you've been married how long now?
Almost 25 years.
25 years. You heard it here first on Righteous Rock TV that God honors marriage and faithfulness, and that I'm sure it hasn't been easy, right? I mean, it's not your wife doesn't always think the same as you do, right?
Oh, no, absolutely not. But I got to admit, I've seen people with a lot of rocky marriages and tough times, and my wife and I have gotten along great. I mean, we've gone through some hard times. So obviously, everybody goes through those. We had my mother-in-law passed away a couple years ago, and we spent 6 months taking care of her, and that was a very hard time. But even through those, my wife and I were, in sync, and we were each other's rocks. We were there for each other, and I love my wife. She's just the greatest woman in the world. We've actually been together since high school. Met her in 1987, I believe.
Wow.
No, I'm sorry, 1984.
A great decade.
1984. So yeah, because it was our sophomore year in high school. We dated through, my senior year, dated through 4 years of college, and then got married right after that.
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, God gives us our wives or our husbands as advocates, to support us. And there's times where, I've been married 16 years, and I met my wife in the Navy, and we were born again and baptized at the same time at the same church. And ever since that time, I've been so thankful, literally, that I'm positive that I would not be here today in this condition if God had not given me my wife. I really truly believe that she is the best gift from God, that He gave me. Obviously, Jesus Christ was the greatest gift from God that He's given me, but it's hand in hand. I know that His hand was all over.
Of course. Well, a marriage is not two people. A marriage is three. It's it's you, it's your wife, and it's Christ. Those three people. Just like the triune God, that's the perfection. Well, in your marriage, when you have your wife, yourself, and God in your marriage, that's the perfect marriage.
Amen, amen. And I just see it every day. And obviously, you were saying that your kids are older now.
Yeah.
We had talked about that earlier, and you were sharing about just about your daughter who's going to be what is she going to school for again?
She wants to be an obstetrician.
Yeah, and I said, wow, she's a smart one, huh? Because reading and studying was not my forte in high school.
Yeah.
I was, but my sister's an advanced science teacher in high school, and she just went back to get her doctorate so she can be a principal. So she really likes to learn, and that's great. And I think that God uses that, and it's also a blessing to you. That what a great honor to know that you raised her right. I mean.
Sure. She's
functional adult that is, able to go out in society and witness for the Lord, the way the Lord's blessed her. We're not all the same, but we all serve the same,
sure,
Maker. So, and I think we talked about that earlier in length. As a matter of fact, we probably would still be there if he didn't look at his phone, because I can talk. And I love to talk about Christian rock and metal. I love to talk about what God's doing in our lives, and so needless to say, we eventually packed up the gear and moved here to Guitar Center to do this interview. But yeah, I just I don't know. You want to share about what we were talking about in the car ride over here? You were saying that you saw the 2 Ultimatum CDs on my dash, and you were like, yeah, I didn't really like the way those turned out. And you were sharing that the fact that
well, yeah,
sometimes it works out well and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, remastering, you always see the remastered, that must be the better version. Not always. Sometimes the original sounds better. In the case of, we have, several albums out, but in the case of Symphonic Extremities and Mechanics of Perilous Times, those two are remastered, and they just sound a little harsh to me compared to the originals. Whereas Puppet of Destruction was remastered by Isidro Garcia, and that remaster sounds 1,000 times better than the original. So remaster doesn't always mean better sound.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's one of those things where people are gifted, I think, to do specific things. I know I've been told by quite a few people that I just do this. I play the rock that's right and do interviews and share people's testimonies, and I don't have to really do anything else because this is what I've been called to do. This is my niche, my gifting. I don't think that I'm going to be a great guitar player, even though I have a guitar and I'm learning, because I don't really feel like that's what God's called me to do. He's called me to do this just like He called you to be the lead singer of Ultimatum.
Sure.
And a few years with Vengeance Rising.
Yeah, well, yeah, we did back in 2002, I believe it was. Well, actually, I'll go back a little further. Back in, we did a show called the Extreme Mardi Gras Ultimatum did out in California. I believe it was 2002, might have been 2001, somewhere around there. And Ultimatum at the time was playing a song called Burn by Vengeance Rising live. And just so happened that Georgia Choa's band was playing there. In that band was Larry Farkas, who used to be in Vengeance, and Glenn Mancaruso, who were also in Vengeance. And after we had done our thing, we played the show and got off stage. Larry Farkas comes back behind stage. He goes, "Dude, that was awesome that you played Burn." He goes, if Vengeance ever does a reunion show, did you guys sing for us? I said, well, if Vengeance ever does a reunion show, let me know. So not even a year later, I get a call from Bill Backford from Rock Productions. He said, we're going to be doing this Vengeance one-time reunion show out in California and Anaheim. He says, would you be willing to come sing for him? Yeah, love to. I mean, I've been a Vengeance fan since I was a kid. So yeah, that was awesome. I really enjoyed it, and then got some great friends with those guys, and ended up getting to do more than just that one show. We ended up doing several other shows and played Cornerstone, and flew out to Switzerland and got to play Elements of Rock Festival with them, and yeah, it was a good time, and I really enjoyed it, and I made a lot of good friends in the process.
That's very cool. Yeah, I know. I've talked to Larry Farkas quite a few times, back and forth on Facebook, and I just want to say, I love Roger Martinez, and I know Jesus Christ does too, and that I don't ever stop praying for that brother, and no matter what, because I don't think Christ gives up on anybody.
No, absolutely doesn't.
And
never leaves us or forsakes us.
No, and so I just want to let everyone know that you know, we think we know people, you know, because with the media the way it is now, I'm able to do a show like this to the glory of God. We think that now that a lot of these artists are on Facebook or Twitter or MySpace, we know them, but really we don't know what they're going through, you know, and what their struggles are. So I think we need to be mindful.
Absolutely, I agree. That's what we were talking about that over at the Golden Arches.
Yeah. Yeah, that place.
Yeah. I'm just gonna put a little segment in here. I do not care for that place, but they have some healthy stuff. You just gotta watch your eat. Egg white sandwich and water. There you go.
Yeah, and it's in moderation as well. My doctor told me, he said, you can have those foods that you like, you just can't have them all the time. And my thing now is portion control, and I don't know if you realize this, I'm sure you do, but I don't think that people understand what a serving is in America. We've been so blessed here, abundantly blessed, that we think that when the plate is full, that's a portion. No, like I looked at, for instance, saltine crackers. 5 you get, not the, I used to eat the whole, one of those whole reams. They come in four packs in a box. I would take the whole pack, sit with the TV and some cheese and watch the game or whatever, and eat the whole thing, thinking I had my serving of saltine crackers, when you're only supposed to get 5, a serving 5. So when you put that in context with everything, and I've lost 8 pounds, praise the Lord. I was up to over 250, believe it or not. I know I don't look like it because I carry it fairly well, but my doctor told me, like we had shared before, that listen, you can't keep going this route. Your body's not going to stand up to this much longer. So it was a real wake-up call to me, and I'm so thankful that, again, for all your prayers out there in the Righteous Rock Nation, you people, I had people write in from all over the world on Facebook, said they're praying for me, and God answers prayer, because like I said, what I was in there for, most people have to have dialysis afterwards, and there's no signs. The doctors have told me that it's almost like I never went in the hospital. Yeah. So literally, He restored me to new that fast, and he is a great healer and worthy to be praised.
I'm going to share a funny food story with you. So we were at a restaurant with Once Dead at this show. Actually, Once Dead and Ultimatum were doing a show together, and we went out to eat together, and we were at this restaurant, and the waitress walks by, and she's got this big, huge, nasty-looking plate of nachos with just stuff all piled on top of it, you know, the sour cream and the cheese and all that stuff. And Larry Farkas is sitting next to my wife and I, and Larry looks, oh, look at those nachos. Those are disgusting. And that just seconds later, the waitress walks over and she says, would you like to take your order? And Larry's like, yeah, I'll have the nachos. I'll never forget it. It was just the funniest thing in the world. Those nachos are disgusting. Yeah, I'll have the nachos. Larry, he's a character, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know, I was telling you about all the people that the Lord has blessed me to meet and to fellowship with. Just, you know, out of the box. When I stepped out in 2010 and started this, I started out on a non-smartphone, and I started Righteous Rock Show Nation on Facebook, and from that point on, the Lord just blessed me to be able to meet people like Ken Tamplin and Chuck King and Adam Lee Kemp from Krista Vox and Ray Pereira, and just the list goes on and on. You, Bill mentioned. I mean, so many people I forget. And the Lord just really showed me that. And since that time, as you know, on Facebook, so many Christian platforms have come on. Now there's classic Christian rock. There's Christian music of the 60s and 70s. And I love to see how it's really ignited people's passions to step out there in faith and say, you know what, I like that too. You know, I think, you know, I believe God's calling me to do this. You know, I'm going to build this. You know, I'm going to build this for His glory. And I'm going to, or bands coming out now that send me their music and videos, and I tell them, you know, send them in if they're garage videos or if they're live videos, send them in, and I'd love to air them. You know, if you're glorifying Christ, you know, this is where I believe He wants you to be, is on Righteous Rock TV. So, again, I'm just so thankful that you're able to come out and take this time away from the family. I know it's a sacrifice when you got to take time away from the family, but I really appreciate it.
That's ultimately was a sacrifice from the family the entire 20 years of our existence.
yeah, we were touch base about that too. You were sharing the fact that, and I've heard this as well from Bill Mention as well, about how, you know, and Richard Lynch from Saint and a bunch of your other peers, just about how there's a lot of sacrifice. You know, these guys, Scott and Bill and Richard, they've invested a ton of time and finances into this music. And as everyone out there knows, very underfunded is Christian rock and metal. So again, come by the website, order directly through Scott, and make sure that, you're buying from these bands. And that's, I think, a plus. Not only is there negatives to media, but there's plus as well, is the fact that, you can get this music directly from the artist. And how cool is that, to get that instant feedback? Like, that really blessed me, brother. Thanks for taking that time.
Ultimatum has never been, we're not rock stars, we're just, I've always said that Ultimatum are a bunch of metal fans in a metal band. And that's what we've always been. So I don't know, I enjoy talking to people, and and especially enjoy talking to people that enjoy our music. So how you doing, brother?
Yeah, that's where we're at right now. Is you're all right. You're all right. No, you're okay, brother. It's all right. That's where we're at. We're at Guitar Center. That's why you hear the drums. That's why you hear the phones ringing. This gentleman wanted to come and look at the guitars, and we were going to let him just because they've been gracious enough to let us use this room, and it's just been a really real blessing. But again, Scott, I appreciate it. Is there